So I will open up with some of the pregame, as I think it was fairly pertinent to the mood of the night. Maybe just as a viewer, but maybe also for the team. It was legitimately emotional pregame for the Wolves. Minnesota and the world entirely have been through so much throughout this offseason and over the summer. The global health crisis, which has been particularly rampant in Minnesota over the last couple of months, the murder of George Floyd and the ensuing unrest in the Twin Cities, the loss of Minnesota broadcasting legend Tom Hanneman just a week ago, and the tragedy that struck the Towns family. It's been a brutal offseason for the Timberwolves franchise and for those surrounding it, and all of this horrible, unfortunate circumstance made it that much more relieving to see the Timberwolves back playing basketball in a real regular season game for the first time in 288 days since our last regular season game. So I hope it was as exciting and relieving for you as it was for me to see the Wolves out playing again. So with that being said, let's move into the starting lineup that we saw. Ricky Rubio, Malik Beasley, Josh Okogie, Jake Layman, and Karl Anthony Towns. So due to a delay with COVID test results, which appeared to be on D'Angelo Russell's end, the Wolves didn't start him. The Wolves are doing their due diligence and appear to be sending a strong message to their team that these protocols will be taken seriously. That strong signal saw D'Lo come off the bench. This obviously won't be the norm, but it certainly contributed to a terribly slow start from the Timberwolves. Jake Layman starting at the 4 was certainly not the decision I was expecting, but Ryan Saunders does have a weird thing for throwing an oddball hustle guy into the starting lineup. As you may remember, last season he started Treveon Graham 20 times. Treveon Graham's 20 starts for the Wolves. He's not in the league anymore, and at no point did he make sense in our starting lineup, but it's a little bit of precedent for the start for Jake Layman. I obviously have a lot more faith in Layman than Treveon Graham, but what does this decision mean exactly? It clearly shows a high level of confidence and faith in the hustle and effort that Layman can bring to the Wolves. This might say just as much about the lack of faith in Juan as it does confidence in Layman, but given that Juancho missed a significant portion of the preseason, this might just be a result of that, and if I had to guess, I think that's the most likely case. Given that, both guys stunk it up, and it doesn't say anything good about anybody, but we'll cover that a little bit later. The last, perhaps most intriguing part of our starting lineup wasn't who was in it, but who wasn't. Anthony Edwards. I discussed this possibility in my comments reaction video, and sure enough, Edwards came off the bench in the season opener. Now again, this was a preseason unlike any other. Edwards was drafted by the Timberwolves just barely over a month ago, and I don't think this necessarily indicates any lack of faith or any lack of ability from Anthony Edwards, but rather we drafted him like 34 days ago or something like that at this point. As the season goes on, I anticipate him to work his way into our starting lineup and certainly into significant minutes. Now let's talk performance. The Wolves stumbled out of the gates on this one, giving up an opening run of 14-2. Towns then gave some life to the Timberwolves offense, yamming home a highlight driving dunk, followed by a 3 and then another dunk. Towns put the Wolves on a run, but then after gaining his second foul during the first quarter, he was forced to head to the bench. The foul trouble throughout this game proved an issue for Towns and made it difficult for the Wolves to establish rhythm early in the game, and these sorts of foul issues have been an issue for Towns in the past. So hopefully this is a recognized issue by Saunders and they're able to make some adjustments to keep Towns away from these types of needless fouls. A nice 23-point performance from Malik Beasley, who went 10 of 18 from the field, and a late game surge from D'Angelo Russell gave the Wolves enough juice to clinch up the win late in the fourth. The Wolves trailed, or at best were tied for almost the entire game up until the ending, only pulling ahead in the last couple of minutes where both D'Lo and Beasley hit a clutch 3 apiece, with Beasley's clutch 3 being the dagger. Defensively, the Wolves did a good job of mixing in different defenses to throw off the Pistons' offense. The Wolves showed some zone throughout the night that threw a wrench in some of the Pistons' rhythm. There were some positive aspects of the Wolves' defense to build upon, but there's also plenty of reason for concern. The Pistons got a lot of easy looks and easy second chance buckets throughout the course of the game. The Wolves did hold Blake Griffin to just 15 points, but a lot of that is thanks to Blake tossing up some bricks from distance, going 0 of 5 from three-point land. Mason Plumlee got a pretty easy 14 points, going 7 for 8 from the field, and there's really no excuse for the Wolves to give up that many points on easy shots to a player of that caliber. So it's definitely a concern that a low-tier center would be able to hang up 14, 8, and 6 assists on us. And that leads me into maybe the biggest single concern of the night. We didn't get a thing out of either of our power forwards. Layman and Juancho both stunk it up. They combined for as many points as I had in this game. That's right, an 0 from both of them combined. Not only were the stats terrible for both these guys, but the eye test alone would have told you that these guys were total non-factors. They both disappeared, or never appeared in the first place, for that matter. I expect better play out of both guys as the season goes on, but the lack of apparent skill at our four is concerning. So let's hope that both of these guys, especially Juancho, are able to move past this bad start pretty quickly. Anthony Edwards had some solid game throughout, putting up 15, 4, and 4. He excelled when slashing towards the rim as expected, but did go 1 of 5 from 3. His mechanics looked fine, and he shot with confidence, so hopefully that'll come along in time. He also went 4 of 4 from the free throw line, which is nice. All around a solid performance from Ant-Man. Though Josh Okogie didn't log any official steals, anybody who watched the game could have told you he had a huge defensive impact, repeatedly tipping passes and clogging up passing lanes. Okogie's stat line of 12, 4, and 2 won't tell you much of a story, but rest assured, Okogie did perform well. And lastly, Jarrett Culver also played some nice basketball, posting his first career double-double, putting up 10 points and 10 boards. He shot 4 of 5 from the free throw line, which is very reassuring after it being a real struggle this last season. And we did see some times where there was a 4-guard, maybe forward lineup with Carl out there. In those sets, Culver seemed to kind of be the power forward, but for the most part, Okogie was matched up on Blake, so it was kind of Okogie at the 4, but some of that theoretical small ball I talked about preseason did make an appearance in this game. So the final key stat that I will give you was that Karl-Anthony Towns either scored or assisted on 15 of the last 16 points scored by the Wolves, the one other point being an Okogie free throw that came from an and one from a shot that Carl had the assist on. So Towns' late game scoring and playmaking secured the Wolves this win, and he looked like a stud down the stretch. In summary, it was far from a perfect game. Ricky Rubio said it himself post-game that he hates to be this guy, but they didn't play that well. A lack of offensive rhythm, inconsistent defense, and literally 0 points contributed from our power forwards give the Wolves plenty of work for the film room. With all that said, winning is the cure-all in the NBA, and the Wolves pulled ahead when it mattered most, and a strong team performance from across the roster gets the Wolves their first home win of the season, and a win in their first game in 288 days, 294 days, as I record this, since their last win. The Wolves will be back on Saturday night playing the Jazz in Utah. So what stood out to you in our season opener? Make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I'm now on Twitter at DunkedOnWolves, and I've been pretty consistent at getting Wolves videos up about once a week on this channel, so if you like this video and want to follow the Wolves with me throughout the season, go ahead and subscribe. But that's it for this video, so stay lit, and as always, thanks for watching.